Thank you for joining us here at Two Balls and a Mic. Today we have a really special interview. We actually wanted to go ahead and highlight a great message, especially at the end of San Diego Loyal and everything that happened with our team here in San Diego. We thought it was a great time to make sure that we highlight exactly what's the most important out of that event and moving forward. So with that, we actually invited a couple of guests over from, some may say, too hot for podcast, the Plastics. We have Meredith and Nicole representing the Plastics coming on in. Welcome on. How are you guys and gals and everybody and dogs back there doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, we're good. I'm Meredith. I co-founded the Plastics alongside Catherine, and I'm obviously one of the mods. And this is my dog Jeru, who apparently insisted on joining us today.
So that leaves me. Hi, my name is Nicole, otherwise known as Goth Girl on the weekends on Twitter. But I'm a co-mod. Meredith had asked me a couple months back if I'd be interested in being a mod for the Plastics, and I was like, you betcha.
So, and definitely, sorry. What we wanted to go ahead and start with also, and I kind of skipped over it, was I wanted to go ahead and read the Plastics mission statement. And this, you can find this at sitwiththeplastics.com. And I think it's really important with everything going on in USL soccer and everything that happened with Colin Martin and in that situation we'll get into. But for the mission statement, it says the Plastics supporter group exists first and foremost to create space for supporters of all MLS, NWSL, USL teams who are women, trans, non-binary, and or identify as queer. Through organization and activism, we aim to counter inequality and foster inclusivity within MLS, NWSL, and USL supporter culture. It goes on a little bit, but I think that's a good synapse and intro to what a great movement this is. I think, Meredith, if you want to go in a little bit in detail as far as what exactly is this in layman's terms, as far as if we have no idea what the Plastics are, how would you explain that to us and exactly what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So, there's definitely, I don't want to say there's been confusion around the group, but, people are like, oh, what does it mean to be a part of the Plastics? What does it mean to be a member? And, I would say the Plastics are just, at the end of the day, about, we're a group who believes in aggressive inclusivity. That's all genders, all sexual orientations, all races, all of that. The only thing we don't have tolerance for is bigotry and discrimination. So, if you've ever felt, like the black sheep of your supporters group, or like you didn't fit into your own community, if you've had issues with harassment and bullying, or, you're just a marginalized supporter who doesn't feel like they've ever really had a place in soccer, we're kind of the group. We're the group for you. And anyone who identifies with our mission and supports our mission, is a Plastic. It's not just for, women supporters and queer supporters. We have like straight, cis het allies as well. So as long as you're down to ride with the Plastics, you can be a Plastic.
I love that.
I like it.
You want to join? You good? You down? I'm down.
I'm down.
I'm
always
cool.
down.
No, but and in that, there's obviously right now it's hard to be a supporters group when none of us are allowed to be supporting in person. But can you take us into some of the things that gone into in this time to keep this movement alive, or how are you guys staying connected with everything and making sure that even staying at home and cheering as a supporter at home, that message is still getting across?
So we were actually in a very interesting position because the Plastics started, I would say, a week after the MLS season originally began. Before the season got postponed, before the pandemic really hit the United States. So we started online, and we were around for about a week. I remember going to one Chicago Fire watch party, like after the Plastics became a group and kind of took off on Twitter. And then it was like, we're all stuck inside. There's no games, there's no soccer at all. So most of our presence and most of our community has been built online. That goes for Chicago, and that goes, like to across the country and in Canada, Mexico, and Australia too. So we just try, honestly, myself and Catherine run our social media. So Twitter is huge. Our mod, Valeria, who's been here since day one, she does an amazing job on our Instagram. So honestly, just keeping it fresh and active and updated, and, just staying in touch and making people feel included and giving people a space to either celebrate themselves or vent or, share the triumphs and tragedies of their week. And just really, really building community, like on the internet, because that's all we can really do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as a moderator, what exactly are like the responsibilities that each person has within the Plastics?
Do you want to talk about that, Nicole, as a newer moderator?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, I'll talk about it. It honestly depends on. Like, it really depends, like, on a day-by-day basis. I feel like part of the time, I think a bulk of the work, honestly, is the Twitter is our social media accounts, because that's where our presence is. And so some days it really can be like, okay, well, we need to promote the shit out of something. So we're just on social media, like, retweeting, liking, just sharing. Or, we're talking about, or we'll have like Zoom meetings where we'll talk about like affiliations. I know we had, like, if you've been following us, you've seen that we've announced 2 affiliates. So whenever we're doing something like that, there's a process that goes into that. I feel that feel like being a moderator is very there's like no hierarchy there, so it's a very collaborative type of thing, and everyone's voice is being heard. So yeah, sorry, I can go on tangents a lot, so please pause me. But at the basis of it, it's just it can be something as simple as promoting something on social media, or it can be like meeting to discuss affiliates, just meeting to discuss like how we're gonna grow the Plastics, and also like the Twitch streams. Those require Zoom meetings as well. So really, it's just it really just is like a day by day basis. I would say the social media stuff is like the one constant.
So let me ask. I mean, from what I've seen, is that not only is this a lot of work, but there's a lot of quality work going into it. One thing is doing work, and the other thing is having quality work, and you can tell that there's a lot of love, care, and everything that goes into what the Plastics are doing. So if I could stay with you, Nicole, why? I mean, it's just it's just a little blunt, but some people might ask, like, why the effort? Why are you? And then maybe Meredith we'll go with you. But for you, why is this so important for you to do and put so much effort that thankfully somebody's doing? And I'm glad that it's you, because you guys are doing a great job. But why you? Why?
Well, as a relatively new soccer fan, like, I've really only been like getting into it and following for the past 3 years. So I'm still, like I said, I'm still relatively new compared to a lot of the people that I know. But with that being said, I felt like when I kind of tried to, like, when I would go to games and I would see the supporter groups, I never felt like particularly welcomed. It felt very cliquey, which it's a cliche thing to say, because like cliques are everywhere, and like whenever you form a group of people, it's bound to get called a clique, Yeah. But it felt very cliquey in a way that like I felt like I couldn't exactly penetrate that clique. It was very bro, but also like older, kind of like older men type thing, and it just didn't feel very welcoming. I remember even going to like a pride event, and I know a lot of SGs around the country who put so much time and effort in really making their pride nights like amazing, but my local pride night, it just didn't feel, it felt very corporate, like it was something the front office was putting on, and not so much like we as like a community wanted to do this. So I felt very disenfranchised by that, and I know that I think for a long time I felt like it was something I was doing wrong, but I've come to know that that's not just me. Like I've had so many friends who are interested in getting like involved in soccer, but they feel so scared to make that first step because there's so much gatekeeping. And I think that we as soccer fans have this unique culture that you don't see in like other traditional American sports, where we have that community, we have that supporter group, and I think it's so much fun, and I want other people to experience it. I myself want to experience it. So kind of that want to make it more inclusive for all really stemmed from me not feeling like I could be a part of a supporter group. And even something as, I know I mentioned this one particular story like a ton of times, but even like I would feel uncomfortable to say that I was a soccer fan because of the gatekeeping. Like I used to put on my like dating profiles, like I used to be on OkCupid, and I put on OkCupid that I was a really big soccer fan. I was a really big fan of, I'd be like, I'm really into soccer, I love the New York Red Bulls, and I would put pictures of like me and my kit and me at Red Bull Arena. And I can't tell you like how many people would send me messages like in regards to soccer, where it'd be like, but it wasn't like nice things like, oh my gosh, you're a fellow fan, like yay. It'd be like, first and foremost, because I live so close to New York City, it'd be like, ew, the Red Bulls suck type thing. It'd be like that. I'm like, did you guys think about this? Like, you're insulting my team here. Do y'all really think that's a good first message? But it'd be like, the Red Bulls suck, or they'd be asking me like questions. I'd be like, wow, you're a fan? Like that type of thing. Like they couldn't believe that a woman could be a fan. And they'd be like, kind of treat me like I was some sort of like unicorn. And they'd ask me kind of like gatekeeping questions. And I had gotten to a point where I had to like, I took down those photos and I took that out of my profile, because that gatekeeping and that weirdness was getting a bit ridiculous. And so those experiences that I had fuel that like desire to work with the plastics and really kind of put in all of my like extra time and effort into like helping make the plastics like what they are.
I love it.
That's
I love
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
It's really selfless, and it's just crazy. Like in all this time that you're putting into it, it's selfless in the way that you want others to share the same experience that you have. Like, why wouldn't you just enjoy it for the pureness of enjoying soccer? And that's great. I love it. Meredith, why are you so passionate? Also, as Nicole is.
Yeah, and I will say, like, thank you for recognizing that there's a lot of work that goes into this, and also thank you for the compliment that it's quality work. I'm happy that it comes across, because definitely running the Twitter account can be absolutely exhausting. Today, Twitter went down for a few hours where, like, no one could tweet, and, like, honestly, I felt free for a little bit. I was like, I don't have to run our Twitter because I can't tweet. Anyway. So I grew up around sports. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. My father is a pretty significant sports writer there. So I grew up, in the baseball stadium, in the football stadium, in the press boxes. And, because of who my dad was, I was always very welcomed, and I was a little girl. So, while people are still sexist to young women, I didn't have that experience as a small child. And then I kind of became like a total goth punk rocker and like disavowed sports entirely. And then I think a little over 5 years ago, I got into Arsenal to spite an ex-boyfriend who supported Tottenham. So
I don't know. I'm conflicted with. I'm a Chelsea supporter, so. great. But then Arsenal, okay.
Chelsea supporters, and I will add to Nicole's dating story. Chelsea supporters, when I was on dating apps, I don't fuck with dating apps anymore. When I was on dating apps, Chelsea supporters were always the ones who were like, "Oh, you'd look hotter in a Chelsea kit. Oh, it's a shame you support Arsenal." Like they were like the cockiest, most like you should convert.
Damn, Tony.
To Chelsea.
He's like,
oh, I don't even know if I like you yet. Leave me alone. So I got into Arsenal. I got involved with the Arsenal supporters group here in Chicago Gooners. I was on the board there for 4 years. They've been run by a woman, Dilly Yang, for like as long as I can remember, like almost a decade now. And she had built this really inclusive space. She put a lot of work into making it inclusive and safe, but she did it. And then when I got into MLS with Catherine, my fellow co-founder and mod, we noticed that, like, very much like Nicole described, we didn't feel welcome. We're both pretty feminine, short skirts, like crop tops, like, we like to tie our kits up, wear thigh-high boots, face full of makeup. And, obviously there's a lot of men that like appreciate, the eye candy at games, but there's a lot of other men and women who just aren't about it and will judge you and side-eye you and not take you seriously. So, so I still didn't give up. I did make some friends in the Chicago Fire community that kept me going. And then that eventually led to being marketing director for the ISA board of Chicago Fire, Section 8 Chicago. And that was a horrible experience. That was when I truly found out how much vitriol the men in our community had for women and why there were so few women supporters, just based on the behavior and treatment I experienced, even from people I considered friends. So after that, I was tired and burnt out, but I had made a joke about starting an SG, basically based around taking lots of time to get ready for matches. And, Catherine messaged me and was like, why don't we really focus on creating an inclusive space where people feel supported and heard. And then, we did it, and here we are. And I will say that, we've obviously had, naysayers, we've had haters, we've had troll accounts that have harassed me personally, as well as the plastics account. But, for every one of those, there's 20 people that come to us in our DMs, as mods or on our Slack or on our account, or they send us an email just to say how much the plastics has meant to them, how it's brought them into soccer, how it's brought them back to soccer, how it's made them want to start their own SGs, how it's empowered them enough to come out as queer to their family and friends, to just be unapologetically who they are. So that's why I do it. Because for all the people that, are we don't understand why you do this, or, oh, this is stupid, or, oh, you're feminazis who hate men, or whatever. For every one of those people, there's so many people whose lives we've actually impacted and changed. And I'm not even saying that to be arrogant. That's just the truth. Those are the messages we get, of people sharing their stories with us privately and how much we've helped them. So that is why I do what we do.
No,
that's awesome.
That's great. And the fact that, there are people who do, get that strength to, DM you and say, hey, thank you for this. But, it's something that maybe shouldn't happen. Maybe you shouldn't have to be coming out. Just be who you are with that and be, be open about it as that would be a utopian perfect world. But
because it makes it everything you're saying is completely true. My brother is he's in the Masacre, which is the supporter group for Cholos here in TJ, in the Mexican Soccer League. And I've gone to their games and not sat with them, but I've seen them, and it's true. You see mostly just men, and a lot of them are really judgmental. If they see a woman passing by, they do a lot of catcalls. And you see a lot of that in the stadium just in general. And to me, it blows my mind. Even on TV, at least for the Mexican League,
the camera guys.
Yeah, the camera guys. I don't know why they focus on women that are dressed up, and I mean, honestly, that's the reason.
It's just ingrained in not necessarily the culture of soccer for we'll speak for the Mexican League. We grew up with the Mexican League, but it's just it became part of the show, and that's something that is not what it should be. The show is on the pitch. It's
and the thing sport. Is, little boys see the games too on TV, and
girls
as well. But then specifically just saying the boys, they see that and they think it's okay. They grow up thinking it's okay to do that type of stuff, and it's not. And I've had conversations with my brother about it, and of course he's like, oh, I don't care about that. I don't care.
You're just throwing your brother under the bus right now.
It's true. I call out people when they're on their bullshit.
Good.
It needs to be said.
Good. Yeah, it 100% does, because I get what y'all are saying, because I'm 100% Dominican, so I understand like the machismo culture, and I grew up with that, and I also see it that it's still prevalent within soccer culture.
And it's an unfortunate part of it, but that kind of leads me into my next question as far as like, okay, so the plastics and the mods, they have the movement and they're growing with it, and obviously we're trying to grow this message. So how and what can people like us, like who are barely starting, to honestly be enlightened to this movement? Because obviously you can't do something about something you don't know about. So once obviously you start educating yourself and start checking your own biases, that's when you can have true change. But how does one even start? Like, what's a good step for that, for this divided community that we have?
I think honestly, it's.
Oh no! I was just gonna ask them really quick, Meredith, and then you can like go, because I feel like you probably have a better answer than I do. But I was just gonna say, follow the plastics on Twitter. yes, follow plastics on Twitter. Because I think like Meredith and Catherine they run it fantastically, and also the actual like Twitter itself is very educational. So okay, I'm gonna pass the mic to Meredith.
Follow it at @theplastics_SG on Twitter. Meredith.
Yes.
So I would definitely say, like selfishly, follow the plastics. We really try like to provide resources and education. Like, it's not just us yelling at people to be better and then not telling them how or like what they can do to change. Like, for example, when the NBA went on strike and they did, the Wildcat strike, I was on our Twitter account, like educating the masses on like the labor rights movement and what a Wildcat strike means. Cause like, that's like activism is very near and dear to my heart. And like labor rights is new to a lot of people. It's just not something people think about, even though we all should. We're all workers. So I really try, like, if there's something relevant, I really try to like hop on that and educate people. I also really try to retweet a lot of different voices and, a lot of different like articles and just, people like writing threads about their lives and their experiences or educating people, and just really promote that. But I would say, a lot of it comes down to following people that aren't like you, and that, didn't come from where you come from, that are a different gender or sexual orientation than you, a different race than you, and just really expanding that worldview. Another thing is, just listening and paying attention. Don't just scroll, just actually like soak it in. If you see like women like myself or Nicole or, any other women that that are vocal in the soccer world, pay attention to what they're saying, because, chances are when we come out with tweet threads, it's like for the benefit of everyone. It's not to like get it off our chests. It's to help and educate. But I would honestly say the most important thing that like men can do in terms of like being a part of the movement outside of educating themselves and, asking questions, it's just calling out other men. Obviously you mentioned the instance with your brother where he doesn't see a problem with that. And it's just that like insistent, like, don't like drop that battle, like keep going, even if it's annoying, even if it causes like, bickering or drama. It's just like, keep going and like keep on him about that. And, because women and queer people get sick of like doing the yelling all the time. And unfortunately, when you are dealing with machismo culture, I've even been in a couple of situations in soccer supporters groups where like there was a problem with a man and like the women decided to take a step back out of it because the man in question wasn't going to respect anything we had to say. So like the men had to handle him.
Yeah.
So it really does come down to like, educate yourself and then call out your boys and educate them. It's kind of like a ripple effect.
100%, like going off of what Meredith said, a lot of it, especially if you have a platform to call people out or you have like an opportunity as like I just think of like my own brother, who he is, like he looks like kind of your traditional, like very masculine Dominican man, but he has, you know, over the years taken the time to educate himself. And of course, like with me yelling at him, but he really has, like in person, become a very like, will call other men out in regards to it, because as unfortunate as it is, there are some men who won't listen to women, but they'll listen to other men call them out on their bullshit. I'm trying to think. There was one really good thread that the Plastics account, I just remembering it, the Plastics had tweeted about, where I believe it was Orlando. They had this really, they had this chant that was very like,
Yes.
I'm gonna forget the word, but it was very like not. It was something
the term
about
is the term for their chant and the T-shirt that they made is whorephobic.
Yes,
which
yes.
Basically just means like discriminatory towards sex workers.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I saw that, and it's something that I had like. I've always been, you know, I've always been pro sex workers. Sex work is work. I've always had that stance, but even I, who has always had that stance, always had that view, I learned so much from that thread. And so even when you think you know stuff, it's always good to keep on learning as well. So I really think that that's the best way that you can help people.
100%. And
it's cool that you mentioned if you have a platform, call people out, because for us, I mean, we're huge fans of new team as San Diego Loyal for the USL, and they decided with their platform to step out of to act out.
Yeah.
And they had back-to-back games where they had injustices on the field. The first one was against Los Dos, where a player used a racist slur against one of our players, and the team didn't find out till after the game, and they actually said if we would have found out, we would have done something on there. And then the next week they played Phoenix Rising, and then a homophobic slur was used against
Colin Martin.
against Colin Martin, and the team acted on it, and they actually walked out and forfeited the game.
I was in the stadium, like one of the 30 people in the stadium. I've never seen anything like that in sports, in period. Like, I don't, amateur, professional, ever. And to be there live, it was powerful, man.
You could tell Landon Donovan was just fed up with it. He was over it. He's trying to change the game, and you hear the conversation he's having with the other coach saying, we got to get this out of our game. It's not okay. And the other coach was just saying, well, he called him this. How long have you been in soccer? And I mean, that's why we love Landon Donovan, honestly. Even as Mexico fans, which Landon is just our biggest rival ever. We love him to that, honestly, because he's trying to make a change, and the team is trying to make a change. And honestly, we're really proud of San Diego Loyal. And I don't know if you all heard like what happened, and then what's your stance on it as well.
So
I definitely. Meredith, no, you go.
So I was gonna say I will never forget where I was when that happened, because I was walking my dog and I was like literally thinking to myself, oh, it's been a really quiet day on soccer Twitter. Like nothing has happened. It's been really quiet. And then I'm, walking my dog, he's doing his business, and I'm scrolling, and then I see it. And I just was like, okay, fuck my night. I guess I'm going to have to be on Twitter, like waging this war and, yelling and standing by, on behalf of the Plastics, like, standing for San Diego Loyal and all their supporters and Colin Martin and, everyone who's just fed up. So it was immediately like, as soon as that happened, even though, I have friends in San Diego, I'm not a San Diego Loyal supporter, even though, I do love them. And I think that like we need to see more leadership like Landon Donovan's and more teams actually, take a stand like that. But honestly, it was just like a call to action immediately. Like it was just like I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing the rest of the night. because people need to hear about this, and this needs to be like made into a really, really, really big deal. So that was like my immediate reaction to it, was I was in battle mode.
Yeah, I remember
Nicole?
that. Oh, I remember that night on. I remember that night on Twitter. It was great. I was honestly first when I first heard the decision for them to end the game, I was really shocked because I was like, just wasn't expecting it because we're so used to like things like that happening, and it just gets swept under the rug. It's like, oh, it's no big deal. And there's people on Twitter who are like saying like, oh, why didn't they keep going? It's no big deal, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, honestly, and then that's where the change starts by like, even though things like that, like racial slurs or homophobic slurs being said on the field, even though that does happen, by taking a stance like that, like such a huge stance, like that's where the change happens. Like, I think people like want to say like, oh, it's just a thing that happens, we don't really know how to change it. I'm like, we do know how to change it, and we do have the power to change it, but like we just need that first step. And Landon Donovan, as a coach, he took that first step. And especially because I know I think I also remember seeing on Twitter people were trying to defend the player who called Colin Martin the homophobic slur, like saying like it's just a part of his culture. He's Caribbean, get it? And I'm like, listen, I'm Caribbean.
Yeah,
I know that culture, and while it is an unfortunate blemish in my culture, like, you don't have to partake in it, and you don't have to you can still recognize that it is a part of the culture and it's something that does happen, but you don't have to partake in it, and you can actively like act out, like you can actively talk against it. And I think that was like one of the few days on Twitter I felt very encouraged for the future, because I'm like, wow, it's starting. We're starting.
yeah, no,
That was one of the first nights we like tried to do this thing that I've been like implementing, which sounds really cheesy, but it's like turning pettiness into positivity. So obviously the Colin Martin situation, like once it came out who the player was that it used the homophobic slur, it's sort of like, regardless of the fact a slur was used, and like, I'm a queer person, that upsets me, that upsets my queer brothers and sisters, it's unacceptable. Regardless, like, I don't feel okay like using the plastics platform to like take down a Black athlete right now. Especially because like, I'm not forgiving it because it's quote unquote cultural, but like we do need to also have some understanding. And it's not just Jamaican culture, it's US culture, it's misogyny, it's all of that. But I also think a lot of it comes down to like the owners of the team and the coaches. It's like when you bring in these players from other countries, like educate them, you can't tell me that's the first thing dude ever said that was problematic. Like, I'm sure there's been many opportunities to like stop him in his tracks, say, hey dude, don't say that, that's not acceptable, that's not gonna fly, and like educate him. But obviously when you hear Rick Shant being like, oh, it's just part of the game, then you see like it's not just a problem with that player, it's a problem with the organization and how they do things as well. But instead of blasting the player who used the slur, I did like some last minute research, and I found like a Jamaican LGBTQ organization for COVID relief. And I was just broadcasting that and being like, hey, if you're mad about this incident, like, let's call out the organization, let's call out the club, let's call out the coach, but also like, let's donate money to this to like combat this, homophobia, instead of like completely tearing down this player. So, it was definitely a very interesting night on Twitter. Like, especially as things developed and the footage came out and the captions came out, and then, Landon Donovan released his interview, a few hours after, like explaining the whole situation and where the team stood. But I will agree with Nicole that it was actually a really, really encouraging moment to actually see, everyone, not just San Diego Loyals and their fans, but everyone come together to just take a stand and be like, nope, not in our game. This is not what we're about.
And it's great that you mentioned that, because I was actually fortunate enough to go to a press conference that Is the Loyal had to kind of wrap up the whole season. And Landon did mention that the last thing they want to do is just have people get fired or have a player's career ruined over this. What they want to do is educate those players, coaches, and have them spread the message as well, especially someone like Rick Chance, who's the coach for Phoenix Rising, who's been in soccer for so long. If he's able to have an understanding and change, it honestly, then everybody else can change as well. And he also mentioned how the first time there was a racial slur, something like that, used in practice, he actually stopped practice, had everyone sat down and had a conversation about it, like how that's not okay. We're not going to be doing that on this team, and the whole team kind of came together and just agreed to not be in that way. So I mean, it's kind of great that you mentioned that, because Landon also talked about that as well.
And it's great because, I mean, look, I've played soccer for my entire life, and I mostly played it in Mexico. And it's just interesting now, now as you get that education to look back and be like, wow, like that, I used to think this way or that way. And, in preparing for this, we've been having conversations about like, wow, like it's true. Like all of these things that happened, the fact that, as Nicole was saying, like she didn't feel like she was necessarily welcomed, and it didn't feel good to be part of the supporters group at the beginning. Like I had a conversation with one of the coworkers over the summer, and he's like, oh, I went to your same high school, and I've seen him play just like with the soccer ball here and there. I'm like, wow, you're really good. It's like, yeah, I tried out, but I didn't want to try out because everybody spoke Spanish and they kept making fun of me because I'm black. And like I was just like, wow, that happens. Like you're really good. Like this, you stopped loving the sport and didn't try out and couldn't have a career because of this. And then going a little bit further back, like I used to be a goalkeeper, and so I would take it personally. And I think about this now. If you're coming up in the teens that are 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, you have mixed teams with girls, and so for whatever reason, and I didn't have a good reason, and it sticks out to me now, the fact that if I would specifically not want a girl to score on me because that would be embarrassing. Do you realize how embarrassing it would be to let a girl score on you when this and this and that? And so, looking back at that, just like that's such a stupid way of thinking. And honestly, the way that my life in that regard was turned around was very early on, because one of my favorite soccer players is actually Marta from Brazil, and she just won me. She just shut me up with the way that she played, and it's just beautiful that it goes back to the game itself, because Marta, with the way that she expressed herself on the field, it's like, well, I can't argue poetry in motion like this. I've been wrong all this time. Like, wow, it's
no, and I think that's what we want to see too, because it's like no one is perfect. Like, hello, I'm a white woman. We're like the second most problematic people in the world next to white men. Like, it's just one of those things where like it's recognizing that, like, I always say, like, if you've actually changed, and you've actually tried to grow, everyone has those moments that they can like pinpoint and look back to be like, oh, I remember when I used to have this problematic opinion, and then I remember it changing. And, that just shows growth. So it is about like owning up to, the way we used to think or the words we used to use. And then, basically being like, no, I learned that's wrong and I've changed. And like, that's what we want to see, because it's really not hard. It does take a lot of work and time, but it's like a simple concept.
Yeah, especially with, I would say with, again, going back to machismo culture, it's so deeply entrenched that it seems impossible to unlearn. But I think once people make those like first couple steps, even in women too, like machismo culture is entrenched in women. There's women who have like that internalized misogyny. I think it's not impossible if you start making those first steps to really educate yourself. Then it'll eventually happen. Open. Like I would say, have an open heart, open mind, and it'll eventually like happen. Like we've all had problematic opinions, especially in the age of Twitter. We've probably all had problematic tweets at one point in time. but like I would say like we've, people have the capability to change as long as they're like willing and open to trying and listening.
Definitely. And so how can people, how can we move beyond, there's obviously what happened with San Diego Loyal is an act, and that goes beyond just a hashtag. How can we together help everybody out in moving beyond what's considered performative activism, where, it's kind of like back in, I don't know, you're younger than me. Do you remember the Live Strong bands from Lance Armstrong and how that was a thing, the little yellow plastic bands?
Oh yeah.
And so
I'm 30. I remember.
Yeah, everything after that had a little armband, every movement, every bracelet. So it just became like, what's the bracelet movement this time? So you really don't want,
or the ribbons.
You really don't want these issues to become just another ribbon, just another wristband. How can we make sure that the organizations that are trying to do this, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Pride this, how can we hold them accountable to that and make sure that they follow through? Obviously, as we mentioned, San Diego Loyal, I think that's a pretty good act to do. But moving forward, how would you say that we push for that?
So I would say, like, definitely, talk to them, especially if we're talking, about soccer clubs. I'm on the supporters council for the Chicago Fire, which is basically just like, the heads of various SGs. We have monthly meetings where we discuss issues. I helped Chicago Fire with a lot of the behind the scenes, like pride planning for this year, and the kind of tone that they took with it, and also like the design motifs and whatnot. But one thing that myself and my friend Carrie really like hammered in hard was kind of what Nicole was talking about earlier, which is that like pride seems so corporate when it's done by teams. And, pride is all year for queer people. It's not just rainbows. Like, I don't identify with rainbows. I'm not about rainbows. And it's just, and they just do their pride logo and they have their pride night and that's it. So, I really told them, like, we need to see like consistent work from you. We need to see like lots of money being given to pride organizations throughout the year. Like, we need players educated, people in the organization educated, and also like community outreach as well. And because we have I think I can count the queer supporters who are out in Chicago like on less than 2 hands. Like, there's very few of us. So there's a lot of outreach that can be done in the queer community in Chicago that the team could be doing. It's like, obviously pandemic has put things on hold, but I don't know, it's like when we're allowed to go to matches again at Soldier Field, it's like, find a bunch of different LGBTQ bars that have events. Like, find, one in Boys Town that has like a drag queen bingo, and just like donate 100 tickets for them to give out to get gay people to go to games. And like, don't forget the gay bars on the south side of Chicago. Like, get queer Black supporters involved too. There's a lot of things teams can be doing to put like their money, and their action where their mouth is. So a lot of it is just relentlessly nagging them and putting the pressure on. Like, that's not a glamorous answer, but like, it's just never shutting up and never backing down.
Yeah, I think it's
that's
also,
my answer for that.
I was gonna say too, also like kind of demanding to see like, what are you actively doing to contribute to like what are you actively doing beyond putting out a statement or putting something on like the jersey or wearing a particular mask? Like, what are you actually doing to like reach out, and or what are you actively doing to make your environment more inclusive and more welcoming? Like, from what I've just personally seen, like there doesn't seem to be a I'm just speaking with the supporter culture background I'm from. There doesn't seem to be that like aggressive inclusivity that I think we should be demanding from these organizations who do claim to want to welcome everyone. You can't say that you want to welcome everyone if you aren't pushing for aggressive inclusivity, because there are there are queer supporters, there are there are supporters from marginalized communities out there. We're all out there. We just don't feel welcomed. And so yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's kind of that whole put up or shut up mentality. Like, put up, we want to see some action. Put up or shut up, either you're going to do it and you're going to show us that you're doing it, or you're going to stop, or you stop pretending that you do. Like, I don't know what like a shirt is gonna say, or like I don't know what different colored socks are gonna do for me, or like a rainbow on your jersey is gonna do for me, because like Mara said, I don't even really identify with the rainbow. Like, for me, I identify with the with the bi flag, the pink, purple, and blue. That's my flag. Not to say nothing wrong with wrong with rainbows. I love the I love the rainbow flag, but I personally just don't identify with it as much as I do the bi flag. So,
and it's and a little, I mean, an extra little question with that. I mean, Nicole, we have a little something else to add to that, not just the education of those who we don't know, but it's la educación de los que conocemos, porque somos latinos y somos hispanos y ya sabes cómo cabrones estamos, y pues a veces nos pasamos de verga porque we are how we are.
Exactly. So, listen, I always say my identity is at so many intersections. So I'm always fighting. I'm always down for la lucha, I live it, I breathe it.
Let's take a break from a little bit. What's your favorite curse word in Spanish? Just what's the favorite one to go to? You stub your toe and it's the first thing that comes out. Same thing when something happens. You lose your keys for 5 minutes, but they were in your pocket. And you're like,
that's not like. Well, I use like the Dominican slang. So if I stub my toe or something, I'm like, coño,
I've always loved the use of coño.
Que maldita. It's like, qué vaina. Yeah, we use coño a lot. Like, I don't know. Yeah, coño is a big one.
Yeah, no, coño is like a fine just wine where if you get it right and it's the right combination of words before and after, it just gets it. It just sounds so beautiful. Do you have a favorite?
I know a lot of Dominicans will be like, y ese maldito, but I'm trying to think, like, it's also kind of bad because, like, I know a lot of Dominican curse words are a little homophobic.
Yes, they toe the line. They toe the line.
So I kind of just stick to coño, or like I'll say maldito in front of like whatever I'm talking about.
Do you have a favorite Spanish swear, Meredith?
I do not.
What about
I do not.
In Polish?
Yeah, you were talking about Polish one. Let's learn one.
My favorite Polish cuss word is chipa.
Chipa. What does that mean?
It means the C word in Polish.
Chipa. I love it.
So it's hella insulting. I use it on the bus. I live in a Polish neighborhood in Chicago, and Polish old ladies are very judgmental. So, there'll be a bunch of them on the bus, and, I'll be looking like I look in like little booty shorts and a crop top, and they'll be, shit talking me in Polish. And then when I get off the bus, I'll just look at them and I'll just go chipas and get off the bus. And then they look shocked and horrified. Like, I just
yeah, it was those Eastern Europeans.
Satisfying experience.
Yeah, no, those Eastern Europeans, man. Like, sometimes like you meet. I mean, we have a couple of the same.
What's your favorite curse word in
My
Spanish?
favorite curse word, it has to be like. It has to be. It's a combination. Like, all respects to my mother and everybody else's mother, but it's like chingada madre.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So the neighborhood I live in is predominantly Mexican, so it's gonna sound unnecessarily bougie, but I swear to you, I was a scholarship kid. For high school, I went to a boarding school, and we had a lot of Mexican students from like Merida come. So I learned a lot of I learned a couple Mexican swears.
Like?
So I guess I'll be like Pinche tu puta madre.
Oh, I love it. Pinche.
I actually know what that means.
See?
I know more than I know more than I realized. Apparently.
Uniting cultures through soccer and foul language. I love it.
Yay! That's the goal. That's the real goal. That's our secret agenda.
Or I always say too, like my favorite thing is like when you're at a party, you know, it's probably some like 1-year-old or 2-year-old's birthday party or a baby shower, you know, and it's like 2 a.m. You've had a lot to drink, and someone's putting on like the oldies, you know, like some, you know, like just some old, like, you know, something to get you into the feelings, you know, and it's like the old stuff that your parents would play. And
I mean, you think your parents
and
are
I
younger.
I just imagine like my uncles. There's like drinking Coronas, and they'll be like, "Hasta la verga con esos sentimientos," like just in their feelings.
My white ass is like sitting over here mystified. I'm like, baby shower that ends at 2 a.m. What?
Oh yeah, that's the best way to celebrate.
Yeah, no,
baby.
that's when it starts. Like you open the presents the next day. Like,
as they say, you gotta
fuck
start
the
them young.
present. Fuck the baby. Like,
I'm like, I mean, can I get an invite?
Yes,
definitely.
I'll bring alcohol. Like, I never come empty-handed. I don't really cook that much, but I'll bring.
I'm telling you,
there's never
I'm telling you,
enough alcohol.
Baby showers.
The best is when it's 2 a.m. Everyone's had a lot to drink. You know, you're sipping your Corona with a lime in it.
Tragos de amargo licor.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, someone's playing some sad, like, just think like the saddest, like, Tigres del Norte song, you know?
Oh, the Tigers of the North.
like-
Yes.
Yeah.
I love me some Tigers of the North.
Which actually have a Netflix movie or film.
Yes,
Did you know
at
that?
Folsom Prison.
Yep. It was actually pretty dope.
Oh, Johnny Cash did it better, right? At Folsom. But I mean, again, going back, this is all like as very I am me as you are, we as we are all together. We're all one, and you know, we're all here for the same cause. We're all here because we want to enjoy soccer as much as humanly possible. And in times where I think things are changing, and I think things are legitimately changing, and I think, you know, I refer back to that event with the San Diego Loyal. It's just I've never seen it happen. We've talked about it. People have been saying it. It gets brushed under the rug, but the fact that there was an actual act, I think, you know, really makes it apparent that we're at a different stage now, and it's time for different types of conversations. Yeah, we still have a lot of people to bring up to speed. And it's only gonna be by having these conversations and letting everybody know, like, look, like, everybody here likes soccer. Nobody here likes Manchester United.
Hey.
Whoa.
Right? I mean,
No.
Relax.
that old dilapidated.
Has Timo Werner score a goal at all?
Those-
The plastics mods have like three out of 5 of the mods are Manchester United supporters, which leaves me and Catherine just being like, North London, we don't care if it's, you know, red or blue or whatever. It's just North London forever. Fuck Manchester.
And it's so interesting. Like we already have so many. I guess not even so many. Like this is an allowed divide. Like being fans of one team or another team. Those are divisions that are all right as long as we respect each other within those divisions. Like that's as much as we need. We don't need to keep going and keep you know, separating into different sections.
The only thing we judge are the other teams' uniforms.
Yeah, no, man. You're really gonna tell me that third kit from Manchester United is gonna make you a supporter and keep making you a supporter?
Have you seen our mod Valeria in her Manchester United third kit? Because that might convince anyone
Exactly.
to be a Manchester United supporter. She had like, do you remember when that kit came out and like everyone was trashing it, and then David Beckham posted that picture? Valeria like wearing that kit was like even more convincing than the Beckham picture. So go find that photo and tell me that it cannot be pulled off, because it can absolutely be like rock hard, and she's on everyone.
I cannot risk my fandom of Chelsea to be challenged, so I will let you do that research. Let me go ahead and ask, what about soccer? I mean, we've talked about, what you were doing to help people bring them back to the team and then back to the sport and have them enjoy it and bringing everybody but what about it is what's making you want to invite people to it? Like, obviously it's a beautiful game for a reason, but a lot of people don't understand that. And, to try to bring people here, especially here in the States, to try to understand it and try to, relish it as it should. Like, we're a sports nation. We love football. We love baseball for some reason. We love, we love everything. But, by the way, you're a St. Louis Cardinals fan?
Oh, hell no. I hate the Cardinals.
Oh,
I
yes,
hate all
so-
St. Louis
me
sports.
too. I love
hate
it.
St. Louis.
Perfect.
I'm from there, but I hate it.
I love it. Cool. I was about to mess because Padres beat them.
I'm a Chicago trader, like all the way. Like I moved here 10 years ago, and I just disavowed St. Louis entirely. Don't worry about me.
I love it. But again, what about this sport is bringing you just unlocking that oneness of you that wants to bring everybody together? Like, what attracted you to it?
I think for me, I grew up watching the FIFA World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Like every 4 years, it was a big event in my family. I remember vividly, my mom would print out the the brackets and
Mm-hmm.
post it on the fridge and write it in as the games went on. And my brother, actually, his middle name, because he was born in 94.
Mm-hmm.
So he was named after one of the players, I believe, on Spain's team. It was Adonis or something like that. But that's my brother's full name. It was named after a soccer player during the 94 World Cup. I played in high school, and I've always had that appreciation for it. And and then once you go to that first game, the energy is just, I think it's unlike any other sports game that I've visited to. I think the only sports game that I've ever been to that even compares to a soccer game is going to a rugby game. There's just that passion, that energy, that electricity that just can't be, I in my own personal opinion, cannot be matched anywhere else. I also with trying to bring people to become soccer fans, I always make the time argument. Mm-hmm. Soccer, 2 45-minute halves, a 15-minute break in between, and that's it.
Yeah.
How long are you at a football game? How long are you at a baseball game?
That's true.
We're pretty quick,
And it ends in penalties. If it's a championship game, there's ties, and let's go home. We've done enough damage to ourselves. Hey, we just did a friendly little 0-0.
Less commercials to watch too.
Less commercials, very true. Did you know that I used to think that the commercials that would the CGI that would come out from the grass in halftime was real when I was a kid? I don't know why that just popped into my head. But anyway.
Funny. That's funny.
Meredith. Yes, Meredith. Sorry. What about the sport? Obviously, American, St. Louis, Chicago. I would think hockey. I would think.
And you said you grew up with baseball and football. So, what changed you into, or
what led you
soccer?
to the path of righteousness of soccer?
Yeah.
The path of righteousness. So I do remember, when I was a little kid, we had an indoor soccer team. I forget which league it was in. I don't think it was MISL at that point, but I'm not totally sure. But we had the St. Louis Ambush. So, tickets were always cheap, and my dad knew the owner at the time. So we would go up in his box or sit in the stands. And I just remember really liking it as a kid. I will say that what changed for me and got me out of sports is just the toxic culture around it. Not that soccer doesn't have its issues, we've obviously discussed tonight, but baseball and NFL, if you want to talk about racist, misogynistic, homophobic fan bases, and hockey is definitely not without its faults either. Hockey is my number 2 sport. I will say hockey is my mistress. I am a Vegas Golden Knights fan. I have been on quite the hockey journey. I've had 5 hockey teams. I just get fed up with them because they're problematic, and then I like move on to the next one. And eventually, I'm going to run out of hockey teams because the NHL isn't doing itself many favors, when it comes to changing the game for Black and queer players and supporters. Anyway, tangent. So I had that connection with soccer as a kid. I did watch some World Cup games with my dad. We would go to this the only coffee shop in town that would show them at 5 a.m. So, saw some World Cup games as a kid. But obviously, like, the toxic masculinity of most U.S. sports just pushed me into the arms of soccer, when I finally did get into it because of my ex. And I will say, like, there's just nothing like it. I win my friends over, who don't like soccer or who are baseball fans or whatever by, the tailgates. We have some awesome tailgates in Chicago. And whenever I bring them to matches, like, that's what stands out to them. I'll be like, what was your favorite part? Because the Fire aren't used to winning, so it's usually not a victory. That they're like, oh my God, it was so cool to see the Fire win. Like, that doesn't happen often. So they'll remark, like, I love the tailgate. I love the community. I love the food. I love the people. And when community is done right, it brings people in, and I think that's why our focus is, a lot on community, because when it's good, it's amazing. And it's like a second family or, your only family. But I agree with Nicole that just the passion and the energy and just how you feel when you're in the supporter section, like chanting and jumping and waving flags and like pulling up huge tifo, that takes up the whole section. Like, it's just magical, and there's nothing like it. Like, I've never found that at a baseball game. I've never found that, at a like American football game. Hockey has been the only thing that's remotely as exciting, but with hockey, it still feels like there isn't that community connection. I have friends that, we'll go to hockey games together or whatever, but, it's still like, we're just cheering, the whole stadium's cheering, but it's not like we're like unified, like creating this magic together. Like, nothing hits like soccer hits.
Oh, absolutely. I can't agree more with that.
Yeah.
I actually have a soft spot for Chicago Fire. It let me cheer for Cuauhtemoc Blanco for the first time. He played for the dreaded rivals for our Mexican team, so you couldn't really cheer for him ever. Just like Chicharito with Manchester United for me, I could never cheer for him. And then Chicago Fire allowed me to cheer for Cuauhtemoc Blanco. I don't know if you followed when he was on the team. I think it was like 06.
Yeah,
that was way before my time. I've only been a Fire supporter for like, I want to say maybe like 3.5 years, but obviously I'm familiar with him and his career. But yeah, unfortunately before my time.
So you enjoyed more of the Bastian Schweinsteiger type era.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like as much as you can enjoy it.
I don't know. I want to see. I'm kind of a snob. Like, I want to see more academy players. I want to see more homegrown players. Even if it's just from the continental, Canada, U.S., Mexico. Like, I want to see people from like our continent, playing more than I do. Kind of like, I don't want to say washed up. I mean, you know what? I'll say it. Washed up international star.
Yeah,
100%.
I'll say it. I want to see like, I don't know. I want to see U.S. talent. I want to see like kids, being brought up and outside of the pay to play system. I want to see teams, really trying to like reach out to kids in their city and like supplying them with like the tools and like training they need to, be a professional soccer player. I'm kind of over the international people. And no, I'm not bitter just because there's nasty left. Like, I honestly wasn't that. I'm not a German national team supporter. Like, didn't do much for me.
Yeah, that's a whole nother it's a whole nother topic, like the youth academy, the youth system in America. But let me ask: say someone comes to the Plastics and identifies and wants to join, but they're not a big soccer fan. They're more of a basketball fan, and they want to start a movement more in the NBA and the WNBA. Are the Plastics open to kind of allowing that to happen as well, just expanding into other sports?
So one of our favorite groups that everyone should go follow, especially if they're hockey fans or if they're just sports fans in general, that's doing great work, is Black Girl Hockey Club. And also there's another organization that's associated with them. So there are people and women of color like putting the work in when it comes to like making everything like more acceptable and whatnot, and welcoming to other marginalized types of supporters. I would say that like honestly soccer is just a huge there's so many leagues. And then you get into international leagues and all of that. So I don't necessarily see us like personally bridging out to other sports, but we try to uplift people that are doing similar work in other sports. Yeah. And we try to, promote their voices and their podcasts. And, one final thought is that if someone who's like, hey, I'm an NBA fan, I want to start something similar to the Plastics, but for basketball, we are always down to help people, answer questions on DMs or via email, set up a Zoom to just talk about stuff and tell people how we pulled it off and made this community happen. So we're always down to help other supporters in other sports. Do you have anything to add, Nicole?
Not really. I think you covered it pretty well. Because I think at the basis of it, we as the Plastics are always open. If we have the time, we're always open to kind of pointing people in the right direction or offering guidance in any way that we can, so that we can empower people to do, to kind of do their own thing, their own similar thing,
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to take everybody. I'm a history buff, and definitely you can tell back in the 60s, it took, all of Black America plus a couple of white Americans for there to be change. And unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to see it, it's going to take everybody, not just those in the movement, but those who aren't yet in the movement. Those are trying to bring everybody in, and it's going to take everybody who wants to have inclusion in their sports, in the stands, and everything, to make the effort. And we'll have one last question, but I cannot thank you enough for your time. One last question, and you can tag it with your social medias and where everybody can find you out. Last question would be, if you have a golden ticket.
Ooh, golden ticket question.
If you have a golden ticket and can go to any sporting event, past, present, not necessarily present, but in the past, any World Cup game, any basketball game, anything, even a concert, I don't know. If you could have a golden ticket, what event would you go to? And go.
I gotta think for a second.
All right, I know mine. Arsenal winning the Premier League at White Hart Lane against Tottenham.
Wow.
If I could turn back time. I mean, that's where it all started. My pettiness towards Tottenham. So that has to be my answer. There's no other answer.
How are you enjoying this new wave of Arsenal?
I'm really excited. I'm really invigorated. I thought that me getting into the team cursed them because they really went downhill right after I got involved. So I'm reinvigorated. I'm refreshed. I'm stoked. I'm ready. I think we're gonna do good things this season. So we'll see. I'm not gonna get cocky and say we're gonna win the league, but I think we're definitely going to finish and do better than we have the past few seasons.
Hey, you can enjoy fifth place with him.
My favorite thing about Arsenal is Ozil paying the salary for the mascot.
Okay, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Rest in peace, Gunnersaurus.
Yeah. At least you guys got that midfielder from Atletico Madrid. So
Cardi?
He's really good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm not sure if he's starting on Saturday, but I really hope he is.
And then Nicole
for your
golden ticket.
Okay, so I couldn't decide between two, so I'm just gonna say both of them. I would say I would have killed to have been at the 20. I don't remember which one it was exactly, but the 2010 World Cup game where Uruguay clinched their spot in the quarterfinals
versus Ghana.
Because I'm really big. obviously DR doesn't have a presence in the soccer world. So I've kind of just adopted myself. Like I kind of just adopted Uruguay as like my team for the World Cup. 100% inspired by this lovely Uruguayan family that were my brothers. Like my brother and their son were friends, and like they've just kind of adopted us for a summer. So I've always been a Uruguay fan since then. Because I know how much fun it was for us in the little like house having a barbecue. I can't like imagine what it must have been like to actually been in the stadium with other Uruguayan fans. But that one, and I would have killed to have been at, so as I said before, I'm a really big rugby fan. I played for 5 years. There's this tournament called Six Nations, and it's basically like England, Ireland, Scotland, France, and Italy play in this tournament. It got canceled this year, but I would have killed to have gone to one of the 2018 games, because that's when like Scotland actually did really well. And there was, I forget which game it was, but there was like an upset where like no one thought Scotland was going to win, but they ended up winning that game, and they got farther. Like their standing in the tournament was like better.
That's cool.
So yeah, those are my 2 golden tickets.
I know what you're talking about, because I used to date a former professional Scottish rugby player.
Oh.
So he tried to get me into rugby and explain all of it. But like, yeah, he would talk about all of like just all these like crazy games like that. I definitely remember that one being brought up.
Yeah.
Scotland,
I do love rugby. Mainly for the thighs.
Yes. I actually, because I'm like right next to the drawer that has my like Scotland rugby jersey, I'm just gonna pull
Look
it
at
out
that.
real quick.
Nice.
Rugby is one of those sports where I'll just watch it. I don't know what's happening, but I enjoy it every time.
Yep. That's right. And I'm just like this the whole time, like.
Nice.
Well, again, really appreciate it. If you want to give your ats just so we can have everybody go over, say hi, say thank you for what you guys and gals are all doing with this important movement. Cannot thank you enough. Go ahead and let the people know where they can find you.
Meredith, you want to go first?
Sure. So you can generally find the Plastics on Twitter. We are at the Plastics_SG. On Instagram, we are at the Plastics_SG. We have a website that you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, but I'll shout it out again. Our website is sitwiththeplastics.com. And subscribe to our Twitch stream. We've been doing a lot of awesome fundraisers on there. Expect the next one in early November, post-election. So either way, we're going to be drinking a lot. And, bragging moment, I say that, that caught me off guard.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, what happened? Did the stream end? But I will say our lovely community has come together to raise over $2,400 for both Twitch streams that we've done so far for 2 different organizations, the Okra Project and Daughters of Madre Earth. So yeah, we're really, really excited about this new Twitch platform and how it's building our community more, and also fundraising. But our Twitch is twitch.tv/theplasticsSG, no underscore on that one. And then you can find me on Twitter at thesoccerdom, TheSoccerDomme_.
Love it. And Nicole?
Oh, the reason why I had Meredith go first, because I 100% blanked the Twitter handle. I felt something, I was like, I'm going to mess it up, and people are going to go to another Plastics account. So I apologize. But yeah, so my Twitter is XO_Glencoco. My name on Twitter is Goth Girl on the weekends. So you can find me there. Most of the time, it's just honestly, my Twitter is just either I'm retweeting the Plastics or talking about the Plastics, or I'm kind of tweeting things as a stream of conscious stream of
Or you're
consciousness.
having amazing photo sheets with your friends and posting the pictures on your timeline and stunning on us all.
Aww.
Don't
So
forget
there's
that.
that. Come for that content too, you know. Also, I did want to give a quick plug for a project that I've been working with. That like the plastics definitely 100% help with. So myself and a bunch of quality, top-notch folks in the plastics community are working on this thing called Operation Fierce Love. And, you know, at the basis of it, we are raising money to provide as many queer soccer fans as possible. It started off as like, we're gonna fundraise for to get jerseys for queer Black supporters, but we raised so much money that it first of all completely blew whatever expectations we had at the water. But now we can expand it to just getting as many jerseys out to queer supporters. Yes, the plastics jersey.
Beautiful.
So that there it is. And so along with those jerseys, we're going to be sending out handwritten letters of affirmations, you know, kind of essentially just saying like, we see you, we love you, live your truth the best way you can. So if you have any questions about Operation Fierce Love, or you want to send a letter, or you want to sponsor, hit us up, hit up the plastics, hit me up, hit Meredith up. She'll point you in the right direction. So yeah,
I will say that I really appreciate that you walk the walk and are inclusive to everybody, because there are 4X up to 4X on those sizes. Trust us, we checked. But no,
listen, I'm a chunky monkey. I need them extra sizes. I need them extra.
Breathe.
Them extra exit.
Again, really appreciate your time. Everybody, direct everybody to the plastics_SG on Twitter. That's really headquarters for any and all of this movement. Again, really appreciate it. If you want to just stick around so we can follow up, but we're going to stop recording. I guess, are we family friendly? Oh, fuck no.
No,
No, we're not. Fuck
no.
that.